This week in Adventist history, we look back at the life of one of our foremost pioneers of the African American community, Charles Marshall Kinny. It was near the end of September 1878 when Kinny discovered the Sabbath for himself and first observed it. Thereafter, he began a new life in Christ, whom he served faithfully, including as the first ordained African American minister of the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. Born on April 1, 1855, to Andrew and Lucy Ann Kinny in Richmond, Virginia, Charles lived his first 10 years in Virginia in what became the capital city of the Confederacy during the American Civil War. Sometime after 1870, Andrew Kinny and 3 children, Philip, Charles, and Ada, left Virginia in search of a better life in the West, ending up in Reno, Nevada. Like the Apostle Paul, Charles was no stranger to practical skills and first earned a living in Reno as a barber, a skill he learned from his father. But it was during the summer of 1878 when Charles's life changed forever, for John N. Loughborough gave a series of evangelistic talks, and a woman named Ellen White also stopped by and spoke about the love of God. Charles accepted the Adventist message and never forgot Ellen White's sermon. He kept his first Sabbath on the last Saturday of September 1878 at the age of 23. He was one of 7 charter members and the only black member of the Reno Seventh-day Adventist Church. He became active in the Church Tract Society and by 1882 was state secretary for the Nevada Tract and Missionary Society. Though the Nevada membership was not large, this was a position of high responsibility in an era when T&M, or tract societies, not conference departments, were the primary agencies for organizing members for personal evangelism and outreach. His reports, published in the Review, revealed a conscientious and meticulous secretary, zealous of his new faith. They also reveal that Kinny sent literature to and corresponded with interests from all across the nation. He seems especially to have focused on friends and acquaintances from his home state, Virginia. In May 1881, he reported, "A colored teacher in Richmond, Virginia, has accepted the truth as the result of receiving the signs from our society with correspondence, and others are interested." Later that year, a young Baptist minister in Richmond wrote, promising that if I can aid in the proclamation of the third angel's message, I shall be glad to do so. In that same brief report, Kinny cited favorable responses from another minister in Hampton, Virginia, a Baptist deacon in Richmond, and a friend in Columbus, Ohio. In the summer of 1885, Kinny, sponsored by the California Conference, began evangelistic labor in Kansas, a popular destination for black migrants from the South after the Civil War. Kinny showed remarkable determination in pressing on with the mission to his people despite the obstacles of ignorance, superstition, and poverty. Focusing even more on canvassing, Kinny also extended his labors to a new state, Missouri. He spent the first half of 1889 canvassing in St. Louis, where a number of new believers from the black community were joining the predominantly white church. It was here apparently that Kinny for the first time encountered serious conflict over racial prejudice within the church. He did not report any details for publication, but must have described difficult experiences in letters to Dan Jones, General Conference Secretary, because Jones's replies acknowledged the reality of race prejudice in the church, while encouraging Kinny to persist nonetheless. Less than a year after Kinny left the city, Ellen White encountered the serious difficulties in St. Louis firsthand, and later wrote of having experiences at St. Louis that I can never think of without a feeling of dread. She addressed the issue head-on in her talk to church leaders in 1891 entitled Our Duty to the Colored People. Charles and his wife, Viola, championed the cause of truth at a critical time for our church. By 1896, the combined membership of the 5 churches he founded could not have totaled more than 100 or so. Yet by the time of his death in 1951, the Black Adventist membership in America had reached 26,500, thanks in large part to the trailblazing work he accomplished. That is This Week in Adventist History.